the mini-conf. Someone's chiming. My name is Mark Atwood, and I'm an employee of Red Hat. There have been a lot of other Red Hat employees here, and I'm glad to see them all. I'm interested to see, it's amusing to see I'm the only one wearing the company uniform. And I'm here to talk about OpenShift, which is Red Hat's platform as a service. First, the contact information, URLs, and all that sort of thing. We're at openshift.redhat.com. That's kind of easy to remember, I hope. And I've got a sign-up code, LCA 2012. Everyone who signs up, as you can sign up if you have your laptop right now, anyone who signs up by the end of the conference and gives that code or just shows me they've signed up, I have a box of t-shirts and hoodies and stuff in the back that I'll be handing out. We're on Freenode at #OpenShift, and the OpenShift developers and people are there all the time. We have the standard Twitter handle, and we have an email address, and we all read that and respond to it as quickly as we can. I have to apologize ahead of time. This is going to sound a little bit like a product pitch, and in many respects it is. The way I excused that to myself and kind of sold it to the LCA is that since we're Red Hat, even though right now I'm going to be showing you how to be a user of OpenShift, I hope that in a year I'll be back and showing you how to install OpenShift on your own OpenStack account. Right now, OpenShift as a pass, the problem with passes really is they lock you into whoever your pass provider is. If you're using Heroku, you're kind of stuck with Heroku and you have a painful port process. If you're using App Engine, you're kind of stuck on App Engine until you have a painful port process. We recognize you to have the same problem. If you're using OpenShift, you'll have a painful port process if you want to move off of it. But we are Red Hat, and our business model is we give away software and sell support contracts. And we firmly intend to have that same business model apply to OpenShift. As it is right now, OpenShift is free as in beer, and hopefully soon, and I can't give a schedule for it other than soon, it will be free as in speech. If you haven't used a platform as a service system before, it's one of those things that the first time you see it working, and this may be the first time you see one working, you start thinking, why weren't we doing it this way 15 years ago? Fundamentally, it is you create an application container using whatever API your platform as a service gives you. Then you do what we all love doing. You write code, and then you do a deploy code step. And the way that tends to work for old systems right now is you hire sysadmins, you set up machines, you work out which version of RHEL or Ubuntu, and what the past does is that takes that all away, and we do it for you. You just say git push deploy code, and then if your application is good enough, you profit. OpenShift supports the following languages and containers: Python, Ruby, JVM, Perl, and PHP. Some of them are a little bit older than others. The JVM is the latest and greatest, as befits the company that runs JBoss. Some of the others are a little bit older, and that was one of the things that we hope will be fixed as we open source the product itself. The prerequisites for using it are not hard. You need to have Ruby, and Ruby is everywhere except Windows machines. I was kind of surprised to learn that Ruby came by default on macOS now. And you need Git and SSH, which we all as developers or sysadmins or interested geeks should have on our machines already. And if you're a hardcore Java person who really likes this sort of thing, instead of using Git, SSH, and Ruby, we have plugins for Eclipse and the JBoss tools to interface to OpenShift. And here's where I run the demo. This is why I should have put the laptop up here. This is not going to work. I'll get down here. So I'll show you here, I have sudo gem list rhc. If you say gem install rhc, you will get the gem. You should probably get the OpenShift account before you do that. I have too many accounts. I've installed it a couple of times, the latest one will be used. If I say rhc create application, and I give an application type, I can give any one of the types I listed on the slide above. My favorite one is WSGI 3.2, just because I like is Python, and I'll call the application bottle. Now what this is doing is it's creating an application container up on the OpenShift servers. When it's done doing that, it's going to create a DNS entry that will be visible worldwide, and then it'll create a local Git repository. This is the part that makes me the most nervous when I do this live demo. About a third of the time, the DNS server somewhere in the world doesn't like me. This will take about a minute. It takes between 0 time and 5 minutes. If it takes 5 minutes, we have a fallback. While this is happening, raise of hands, how many of you have used Heroku? 1, 2, App Engine. Any others? Any other? Okay. All right. So I've created an application bottle, and you can see that there's a URL here, which I will copy and paste. And I have the default app, demo app running here. Now, one of the neat things that we've done here is that because this is all Git-based, a CD bottle, this is a Git repository. And if I go to GitHub, we have a GitHub/OpenShift where we have a whole bunch of pre-canned projects, applications, and demos. If you want to set up Wikipedia, if you want Wikimedia, if you want a Frog EMS, if you want a Rails example, a Twitter clone, we've got all this stuff here. If you write one yourself and let us know about it, we'll include it in the list. And I'll go to the bottle OpenShift Quick Start. And here's the create app that we just did. And then there's a little bit of Git magic here, which I will just copy and paste rather than type. Git users will recognize that I'm just creating a remote that points at GitHub for this project. And then I will pull the project down. And this particular command tells Git to pull it and merge it, and everything that's on the GitHub overrides what's local. If I say git push, this pushes from my laptop to the OpenShift servers. Some of this stuff flowing by is that I don't actually have to include the entire application. Locally, I can use the standard Pythonic ways of declaring a, here, if you know Python, you know this kind of stuff. I can say install requires and so forth, and OpenShift will download all the appropriate stuff. If I'm doing this in Ruby or Java or Perl, it uses the equivalent standard packaging system and pulls them out of CPAN or pulls them out of the equivalent for PHP or out of Maven and that sort of thing. If I go back to my URL, not that URL, that URL, it's a much less interesting application. But let's look down into it. One of the reasons I like Bottle is because it is a really simple WSGI. You can see the route commands here. Hello, LCA 2012. And then I say git commit add im message git push. Wait for the push to happen again. Reload the application. And it's hello LCA. There's a fair amount of magic that if I was going to be standing here for a couple of hours or sitting down with you one-on-one, I'd show you. The entire OpenShift environment, such as what your account is, what you've installed in it, what versions things are at, where various other cartridges are, show up as environment variables. We have action hooks, which are scripts you can write in any language that just uses the standard hashbang header to tell what to run them in, that execute when the application is started, when it's committed, when it's shut down, when it's deleted, that sort of thing. We have a bunch of things called cartridges, which are additional services you can have in your application. If you want a Mongo database, or if you want a Memcached or MySQL, or any one of many other things, you use the OpenShift commands to install those cartridges, and they appear in your application, and how to access them become available as environment variables. Other pieces of magic, you can configure an application so that when you do the get push, and you've done something stupid and wrong, which we all do, I do pretty often, instead of breaking your app immediately, if you have a test framework in place, a Jenkins CI system will catch your application, run it through its test framework, and only start it up if it passes. If you don't like that kind of URL that we have, and I'm not a fan of it myself, the rhcloud.com one, you can CNAME it to something else. If your application is running and is stateful, like if it has a database server in it or a Mongo server or whatever, you can, using the OpenShift command API, snapshot it, and it'll give you a local tarball that you can then unsnapshot and restore your app later. SSH port forwards, logging, tailing the logs, more and more and more magic. Once again, the contact information. If you have a laptop open, go to openshift.com Red Hat or later, or find me later today and do that. I talked a little bit too fast. Are there any questions? Yes?
What's in a cartridge? Is it like a configuration file, or?
A cartridge right now is, it's a set of executables and scripts to tie it to the OpenShift environment. Right now, the cartridge system is not documented, and it's too deeply embedded in the way OpenShift is laid out. One of the things that we're working really hard on is making the cartridge API more open and describable so other people can write cartridges. That is really the one thing that we want to get done before we open source the whole project. Yes? Okay, any other questions? Yes?
Can I have my own OpenShift server set up?
I'm sorry, say again?
Can I set up my own OpenShift server?
Not yet. That was the thing I was saying. I want to come back in a year. The question was, can you set up your own OpenShift server? Right now you can't. I can't say when you can, but Red Hat's plan is before I come back to LCA next year, you will be able to do that. And probably you'll be running it on Amazon, where it's running right now, or be able to run it on OpenStack, either your own OpenStack or someone else's. Any other questions? Yes?
Are there any limitations on how much processing or whatever you can do under this free?
There are a couple of limitations. You can have 4 applications in your account right now, 4 domain names. It's hard to describe clearly what the limitations are. You can start exploring and find out. Some of the limitations are surprisingly large. Like the MongoDB that you run is actually 256 meg or 512 meg, which is much larger than any other free MongoDBs online. Roughly you have about the same amount of oomph as you would have out of an EC2 M1 small. Anything else? Again, if anyone wants a t-shirt or a hoodie, show me that you're running an application or have created an account, and I'll give you one. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.